Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes are sweet and sexy. Have fun and enjoy the journey. Just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. And not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade, sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail, kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. There's a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Stack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and Machegas. Ridiculousness that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proceed, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes are sweet and sassy. And not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live. Good afternoon. I was going to say good morning. It is 12:04 p.m. Good afternoon. How's everyone today? It's Christmas Eve. And 2 days until Hanukkah. Hanukkah starts on the same day as Christmas this year, which hasn't happened in a very, very long time. Occasionally it happens, and it's happening this year. So yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for liking my hat. So I woke up to some very interesting news, which shocked me. I'm in shock and horror right now because Luigi Mangione was arraigned today in New York Supreme Court, in New York Criminal Court, and there was a camera in the courtroom, and that never happens. Never happens. I can't remember the last time there was a camera in a New York courtroom, so I don't know if this is going to be a new exciting thing that they're going to allow this Mangione proceedings to be televised, but this is new. And we have footage of it and we can watch the arraignment, and this is crazy because it never, ever, ever happens. But as you can see from what we're going to hear from Karen Agnifilo, who is the attorney for Luigi Mangione. And by the way, they must have got the memo on their outfits because they are dressed alike, which is a little bit weird. I don't know if it was a coincidence. I don't think it was planned. It's a little bit strange. Very short proceeding. It's only about 10 minutes long. But we'll wait for some people to get in, then we'll take a look at it. Yeah, I know. I love it, Gianna, when Hanukkah falls on Christmas. It's so fun, isn't it? So fun. The twinning was odd, right? But, I'm here for it. I'm here for it, and I think we need to watch it together. And Ms. Agnifilo is not crazy about the spectacle that the mayor made with the perp walk. So let's go take a look. I don't know why. There's so many pop-ups on the internet. Why? Why is that? How do we stop that from happening? Now, we watched him be arraigned in federal. We didn't watch it because there was no cameras in the courtroom. He was arraigned in federal court on Friday. He was taken into federal custody, and they brought him to the lockup in Brooklyn, which is like hell on earth, as Mark Betterow told us. And I'm sure he's not enjoying it there. I'm sure he'd rather be at Rikers Island, which is where the state prisoners go. So there seems to be a little bit of jurisdictional wrangling that's going on behind the scenes. Oh, so that's the last time? Susan, 1987 was the same time that the last time that Hanukkah fell on Christmas Eve? Well, that's interesting. All right, we're going to try and modulate the volume. So let's do this. This was the best video that I could find. So hopefully they won't be mad at me for playing it, but who knows? We'll see. I may need to turn down my volume. So just let's do a little test, okay, my friends? I know you like to test with me. Let's do a little test. We're going to see how this volume compares to mine. I'll turn my volume down if I'm too loud. So here's me. And just wait until somebody gets in front of the mic.
Have you pleaded this indictment, sir? Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Yeah, I think that I'm really loud, right? Compared to that. So let me, is that a yay? Let me turn my volume down and then you can turn your volume up. It's like this in every courtroom. It's not just them, it's us. So if I go down to like here, then hopefully this will be better. Okay, this is what it looks like inside 100 Center Street, which is the New York State criminal building. This is the same building that Daniel Penny's trial was in. All right, so let's see if this volume modulation is a little bit better so you can turn it up on your end. And here we go.
The crime of murder in the first degree and other related charges. Have you pleaded this indictment, sir? Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Your Honor, we have a copy of the indictment, notice of immigration consequences, as well as rap sheet. I believe the court has it. We give the court an extra copy and one to counsel. Does the court wish that we be heard with respect to bail?
Well, what is the situation with the federal authorities? They have a security report on.
As we understand.
I'm going to repeat what the judge is saying to you. He said, let me just rewind it so I can hear it better. What is the situation with the federal authorities? Because he wants to know who's going to have jurisdiction here and who's going to take point on this. So I think the judge is hardest to hear, right? So let me just repeat what the judge is saying.
One to counsel. Does the court wish that we be heard with respect to bail?
Well, what is the situation with the federal authorities? They have a
What is the situation with the federal authorities?
security report on.
As we understand that we have primary jurisdiction, and we have been informed by the U.S. Attorney that they intend on allowing us to try our case first. So with respect to.
Okay, that's also very, very highly unusual. Highly unusual that the feds would give up jurisdiction and allow the state to try their case first, because federal court has much tighter timelines, much stricter discovery rules, they move their cases much more quickly. And for this ADA to be saying that the feds intend to give the state primary jurisdiction and allow them to try their case first is highly unusual. But interesting nonetheless. Especially since the federal charges have the opportunity, they're eligible for the death penalty. The state charges are not, because in New York State, we do not have the death penalty.
Whatever goes on there, as the party with primary jurisdiction, the trial and the sentencing will take place here prior to anything that takes place in the federal system.
That's bizarre.
What you just said, the answer is it's fine if we take custody today.
He said, what you just said is fine if we take custody today, meaning they take him into custody, in state custody, and they move him to Rikers. Let's see what the ADA says.
That I'm not sure, because Your Honor signed a writ in which it says that we're going to return the defendant to federal custody. So I think that would be step two. I do think that logically, as the party with primary jurisdiction, the custody should be here. But I asked the court, in light of the court signing the writ indicating that we would return him to federal custody, that be done at a later time.
Well, I've been through this before, and if you do that.
He said, well, I've been through this before, and if you do that.
They will rid him right out of here.
They will writ him right out of here.
So I don't think I'm going to do that.
So I don't think I'm going to do
Work it
that.
out with them, that we will take custody rather than us bringing them back for any proceedings. That would be great.
We will make every effort to accomplish that, Your Honor.
I didn't hear what he said, so I'm going to take it back. We do this a lot. Sorry if you're new here, but I like to go over this once instead of like replaying it 400 times. So we like to do it in real time. It's only 9 minutes long. But I think what he's saying is, I don't want to return him back to federal custody and have to sign another writ to get him out of federal custody to move him back to Rikers. I'd rather just take him into state custody right now. Yeah, the twinning is really something, right? I mean, look at them. They've both got, if you're not looking at the screen because you're driving or whatever, don't drive. Don't drive and look at the screen. But if you're shopping or cleaning or rage crocheting, take a look at their outfits with the maroon sweaters and the white button-down shirt collars out from underneath it. Oh, you can hear that? You can hear the judge? Some people can if they don't have earbuds, so it's a courtesy. If you can hear it, I don't need to repeat it.
That we will take custody rather than us bringing them back for any proceedings. That would be great.
We will make every effort to accomplish that, Your Honor.
But there should be some kind of detainment, and we know that.
Yes.
As their security order changes, there should be some mechanism that he's brought here.
Absolutely.
And then you can move it back. All right, is there anything further?
Yes, Your Honor. We'd like to make a record, if that's okay with Your Honor. First, we'd request immediate expedited discovery in this case. The people have had this case for about almost 3 weeks, and that's more than enough time to gather as much information as they can give to us, especially now that we have two proceedings that we have to answer to, one of them being death eligible. So we are requesting that we get immediate discovery of the New York City Police Department and FBI and federal and state documents. And the second thing I want to make a record of, Your Honor, is I'm very concerned about my client's right to a fair trial in this case. He's being prejudiced by some statements that are being made by government officials. Like every other defendant, he is entitled to a presumption of innocence. But unfortunately, the way this has been handled so far, his rights are being violated. And as you know, Your Honor, there's a wealth of case law guaranteeing his right to a fair trial, but none of the safeguards have been put in place yet here. In fact, it's just the opposite of what's been happening. He's a young man, and he is being treated like a human ping pong ball between two warring jurisdictions here. These federal and state prosecutors are coordinating with one another, but at the expense of him. They have conflicting theories in their indictments, and they are literally treating him like he is like some sort of political fodder, like some sort of spectacle. He was on display for everyone to see in the biggest staged perp walk I've ever seen in my career. It was absolutely unnecessary. He's been cooperative with law enforcement. He had been in custody for over a week. He waived extradition. He was cooperative at all accounts. There was no reason for the NYPD and everybody to have these big assault rifles that, frankly, I had no idea was in their arsenal. And to have all of these, the press there, the media there, it was like perfectly choreographed. And what was the New York City mayor doing at this press conference?
Yeah.
Your Honor, that just made it utterly.
Not the press conference, the perp walk. The New York City mayor, Eric Adams, was walking directly behind the defendant during this massive perp walk. She's not wrong, right? With these massive assault rifles that she says she didn't even know they had in their arsenal.
Political, and as Your Honor knows, under Lauro v. Charles, the Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit has held it to be clearly established that these staged perp walks to the media, unrelated to a legitimate law enforcement objective, is unconstitutional. And I submit there was zero law enforcement objective to do that sort of perp walk. There's absolutely no need for that whatsoever. And frankly, Your Honor, the mayor should know more than anyone of the presumption of innocence that he too is afforded when he dealing with his own issues. And frankly, I submit that he was just trying to detract from those issues by making a spectacle of Mr. Mangione. And there are consequences to this. He has a right to a fair trial. And I just want to put on the record statements that the mayor made publicly about my client nothing saying alleged, for example. And he said, I wanted to send a strong message with the police commissioner that we're leading from the front. I'm not going to just allow him to come into our city. I wanted to look him in the eye and state, you carried out this terrorist act in my city, the city of New York that I love. And he wanted to show symbolism. Your Honor, he's not a symbol. He's somebody who is afforded the right to a fair trial. He's innocent until proven guilty. And the mayor was talking to jurors, future potential jurors that elected him. Those are the people that elected him, that he is talking to and calling this man a terrorist. So
yeah, that was not a good look. It reminds me of Michael Marcy. Reminds me of Michael Marcy's statement that he gave, but this is even, I mean, this is pre-arraignment. 100% agree with her as well. This is pre-arraignment. Eric Adams is getting out there and calling him a terrorist. Oh, and that other word that YouTube doesn't like. I'll probably get stricken for that. So sorry, I didn't mean to say that, YouTube. Didn't mean to use that T word.
Your Honor, I just want to make a record of this and put everyone on notice that this has to stop. And my client is entitled to a fair trial and the presumption of innocence. And we're going to fight these charges, whether it's in the state or federal, to the fullest extent. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, well, as you know, I have very little control as to what happens outside of this court.
He says, okay, well, as you know, I have very little control of what happens outside this courtroom.
But I can guarantee you, as I guarantee every defendant who comes through these doors, the defendant will receive.
But I can guarantee you, as I guarantee every defendant, that moving forward, your client will receive a fair trial.
We will carefully select a jury.
And we'll carefully select the jury when that time comes.
But yes, you should expedite discovery.
Your Honor, excuse me.
And he said, but yes, you should expedite discovery.
The discovery in this case is voluminous, to say the least. I have never seen a case with such volume of evidence, aside from the issue of the quality of the evidence. I suggest to counsel, because we have a discovery portal, but given how much evidence there is against this defendant, it would be smarter if counsel could provide us with a 2 terabyte external drive rather than rely on the crashing of the portal.
Okay, that's
With
bizarre.
respect to statement and
That's
identity.
bizarre. How about, he's posturing for the public, right? We have so much evidence against him. We have so much evidence against him, and it's all uploaded into this portal. But, we don't want to crash the portal by letting you look at it in the portal because there's so much evidence against him because he's so completely, totally guilty, which he didn't say, but which is what he's implying, that we suggest that they give us a 2 terabyte external hard drive. That's bizarre. I've never heard them request that the defense team provide him with an external hard drive. Yeah, they could put malware on that. Even in the Long Island serial killer case against Rex Heuermann, Ray Tierney, the district attorney in Suffolk County, New York, handed over external hard drives with many, many terabytes of discovery on them. So the fact that he's asking the defense team to now incur another cost and supply them with a hard drive is wild to me. But I can't believe there's a camera in here. First of all, you have no idea how lucky we are. You guys, this never happens. There's never cameras in New York. Let's see what else he has to say.
Notification notice, we will be giving that notice within the next 15 days. We're preparing an ADF. We'll do our best to expedite discovery, but I'll say that with redactions and with the volume of it, we're hoping to do it as best we can under, this is not a usual case in terms of the thousands of hours of video tracking and the like, and the fact that we're not only responsible for discovery in this county, but in Altoona where the arrest was made and where several officers were involved. And we're in touch with those people, and we're going to get everything counsel's entitled to.
First of all, innocent until proven guilty, right? We have to give Luigi the same respect that we give and the same constitutional rights that we give to every other defendant. But counselor, assistant district attorney, just because you have discovery obligations in Altoona and other places doesn't relieve you of your duty to give the defendant a fair trial and to turn over your discovery expeditiously so that he can get a speedy trial, because that is another constitutional right that he's afforded under the, as such, U.S. Constitution. Yeah, it sounds like he needs to get to work then. You have an enormous staff over there in the Manhattan DA's office. I'm sure you guys can get it done.
As to other issues, I think a 30-day adjournment to see where we're at, and to, of course, council's aware of the various notices. We have notices as well. I take it that the council will abide by the statutory limitations on their notices with respect to any notices they believe to be appropriate. As to council's record on the mayor, basically repeating what the mayor said, I don't know how that advances the ball. We will comply with our ethical obligations with respect to trying this defendant's guilt in this courtroom and this courtroom alone. Thank you.
Trying his guilt in this courtroom alone? How about trying his case? And, oh, interesting. I'm trying to see the tattoos on this court officer's arms, and part of me was looking to see if any of those tattoos were Odinist in nature, in a weird way. I mean, I just want to hear what he said again with regard to what Adams said. I don't know how that advances the ball. It's not advancing the ball. She's bringing to the attention of the court that the mayor of New York City has said some highly inappropriate things to the press in his efforts to taint the jury pool. And she's right about that. And by her saying that to the court is not trying to advance the ball in any fashion. It's just saying, hey, maybe you want to put a gag order on this perhaps, so that my client can get a fair trial. And if you're not looking at the screen, you might want to come back and look at it later, just so you can get an idea of Luigi Mangione's facial expressions while all of this is going on. So I just rewound it a little bit so we could hear this again.
To be appropriate. As to council's record on the mayor, basically repeating what the mayor said, I don't know how that advances the ball. We will comply with our ethical obligations with respect to trying this defendant's guilt in this courtroom and this courtroom alone.
Trying his guilt again, that is wicked weird. Wicked weird. My Boston friends, you're rubbing off on me. Trying his guilt in this courtroom alone? No, we're going to try his case. Right? And again, you're just parroting what the mayor said, which she just said, and she is correct, Karen Agnifilo, is highly improper. Highly improper. It's wild.
In this courtroom and this courtroom alone. Thank you.
Okay, and here they are.
Ready to go. You can have it.
You can see that he is cuffed.
Can you take a picture too? Can you take this? Okay. No worries.
Yeah. See if we can see anybody in the courtroom.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And this is interesting as we look who's in the courtroom. A lot of police officers with him. I'm not surprised by the amount of court officers in the courtroom. This is a highly publicized trial. We never have cameras in the courtroom here, but I just want to look at the makeup of the gallery, because the New York Post said there were only 6 men in the gallery and many, many women. I'm counting at least 6 men as I'm looking at the people sitting there right now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Happy holidays.
Karen says, thank you, Your Honor. Happy holidays. Let's take a look at News Nation had a piece shortly after this aired, and there's a shot of him walking into the courtroom.
Moments ago, the man accused in the death of the United Healthcare CEO pleading not guilty inside a New York courtroom. Luigi Mangione arraigned on murder and terrorism charges. This is him arriving in court just a moment ago, dressed in a sweater and a collared shirt, a change from his orange prison suit that we saw the last time he was in front of the cameras. Luigi Mangione faces 11 counts in state court. His defense team raising questions now about his federal charges, which could put the 26-year-old on death row if convicted. News Nation's Caitlin Becker is live outside the courthouse with an update for us. Caitlin, good morning to you. He pled not guilty on the New York charges. What exactly does that mean in a case that is developing to be pretty complicated?
Well, this means that the case is going to go to trial at this point. It seems very unlikely that any kind of plea deal would be reached with a crime of this magnitude and this much media attention. As you said, he pled not guilty to that 11-count state indictment for criminal charges. Of those 11 counts, there are 3 murder charges in there, the most serious of which is murder 1. That's that terrorism charge that has elevated this significantly. He's also facing weapons charges and charges of possession of a fake ID. That's that New Jersey ID that prosecutors say he used to check into a hostel on the Upper West Side the week of the murder that was allegedly found in his possession when he was arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania, a few days later. Now, the arraignment happened just a few hours ago, or not hours ago, I'm sorry, just a few moments ago. They've left court at this point. The attorneys are gone. Mangione is also gone. He's back in custody. There were questions about whose custody he should be in this courtroom. That was a big issue for prosecutors. There were federal charges as well as state charges, and the prosecutors say that the state charges should take precedence, that everything should be worked through the court system, the legal system here at New York Supreme Court first before they move on to that federal case. They also suggested that he should be in state custody, not federal custody. So there's a question here, and there was a little bit of confusion there, and I don't think a decision had been made just yet as to whether or not he's going to stay at that Manhattan Detention Center or be moved over to a state facility. Now, on the defense side in the courtroom, Marnie, his defense team, Karen Agnifilo, was very passionate about the fact that she doesn't feel like her client is going to get a fair trial. She said she wanted to put up.
Well, this is interesting. Even though they had cameras in the courtroom today, they also had, well, this is not a sketch artist from today because they're both not wearing their maroon sweaters. This must be a sketch from federal court from Friday.
The record statements specifically made by New York City Mayor Eric Adams, noting that he never said the word alleged when he was referring to her client as a terrorist, mentioning a terrorist act. She said, Your Honor, he's not a symbol. He's somebody afforded a right to a fair trial, innocent until proven guilty. So that, of course, is going to be an issue as they go forward in order to get an impartial jury. Now, moving on, they discussed a lot of things involving discovery. That's, of course, the sharing of all of that evidence and materials from the state side. We hear this term all the time in these huge cases, voluminous discovery. The prosecutor said they haven't dealt with a case that had this much discovery because they're talking about tens of thousands of hours of security footage that they need to go through. So there was some back and forth there. Now, outside of court, it was just as exciting and hectic as it was inside of court. There were people who lined up at 4:30 in the morning to try to get into court to catch a glimpse of Mangione. We had 20-something women coming up to our photographers asking if they're going to be able to catch a glimpse of him. There are people with noisemakers and signs chanting, hey, hey, ho, ho, CEOs have got to go and free Luigi. In addition to that, you had other people telling some of our producers that they're not supportive of him and his actions specifically, but they are supportive of the conversations.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, CEOs have got to go. Okay.
That people are now having about insurance. So you're seeing a sort of a wide range of that outside, but it was a lot of excitement out here. It does seem to have calmed down now that the hearing is over, Marnie.
Yeah, so much attention paid to this case. In the meantime, Caitlin, what about his demeanor in court, his appearance and just his interaction with those inside the courtroom?
That's an excellent question, Marnie, because there was a lot of interaction with the attorneys. Specifically, he was very engaged. He was very animated. It didn't seem like he was putting on a show the way it feels like we had in those previous hearings when he was shouting and screaming and having outbursts. You know, he kept it really.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that his attorney read him the riot act on that and said, you sit there, you keep your expressions under control and no outbursts, please.
2 conversations with his attorneys, but he was very engaged. He cracked a smile at one point. And as opposed to in other hearings where you see a very stoic defendant who sits at the table and they're usually instructed not to show any emotion, he did seem animated. He did seem engaged, and he was talking to his attorneys, not just being spoken to. The end of the hearing, he had written something down on a paper and handed it off to someone, but it wasn't clear exactly who that person is. But he definitely was more engaged than some of the other people we've seen in that courtroom, Marnie.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com.
Yes. Did you guys tell me that that Mark Betterow was on Fox this morning? What was he on? Let me see. Got to see if I can find the clip. He did not text me, I don't think, to tell me that he was going to be on, but I'd like to see it. Daniel Penny, where was Daniel Penny? This is in the same courthouse that Daniel Penny was tried in, 100 Center Street in Manhattan. Romy, thank you so much for $100 super chat. That's so sweet. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to engage with us and discuss important cases and issues. I'm truly grateful for you. I'm grateful for you guys, every single one of you, for watching. Thank you so much, Romy. I appreciate you more than you know. Lois Lane coming in with a hot 100 as well. Thank you so much for thanking me. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Thank you so much, Lois. You're so very kind and generous as always to this channel, and I appreciate it more than you will know. GV, thanks for coming in with a super chat. Are we having the worst DA office competition with Norfolk and Fulton County? So between Fulton County, Georgia, Norfolk County, Massachusetts, and Manhattan. I don't know, but that's a great point. Thank you. Nick TTT, thanks for the 5. Another rarity for New York State. Cameras in the courtroom. This is the first time, Nick, that I have seen cameras in the courtroom, I think ever in New York. And I've been practicing here for over 30 years. So I don't know what happened. I don't know who made a motion. I don't know if I'm going to have to cut that part out of this video, which might happen. But I'm glad that we got to watch it together. And I didn't see anybody else covering this live. So I said, I gotta go. I gotta get on the air. And ran up here to do this. So, so easy to change the rules when they want a public flogging and execution. Interesting, right? Where were the cameras for Daniel Penny? Not there. Where were the cameras for Ghislaine Maxwell? Well, that was federal court, so there's nothing in federal court ever. But think of some other high-profile New York State cases that we didn't see cameras in. Scott says he's got a better shot at trial in New York City than he does out of New York City, so her statement doesn't make sense. Thank you, Tom, for being on top of the super sticker, as always. And GV for being a member for 5 months, is happy to catch a live and chat every replay, though. Thank you so much. And Joseph Keene, gifted a membership to whoever was randomly gifted that membership. Welcome, welcome. I think you're going to like it here. We like it here. The ADA's name is Joel Seidemann. And the judge is Judge Caro, Carro. Here are some still shots from just breaking a few moments ago in the New York Post, because the New York Post is always on top of it. They are always on top of it. Let's take a look. And if you're on replay and you didn't get to watch the video of the court, it's because they made me cut it out. But I'll read it to you what happened in court. Because if you didn't get to catch us live, then you might not be able to see it. And here it is, just from a few moments ago. Luigi Mangione. That's how his cousin Nico pronounces it. Appears in court to enter a plea in execution of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Here are the shots of them coming down the hallway. A smiling Luigi Mangione appeared in court in Manhattan Monday to plead not guilty to first-degree murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione, 26, entered Manhattan Supreme Court at 9:26 a.m. with his feet chained, wearing a maroon sweater over a white collared shirt, tan khakis, and orange prison shoes. And we noticed that his attorney had on almost the exact same outfit. She was wearing also a maroon sweater with a white button-down collared shirt underneath it. It was a little bit strange. We don't know if they planned it, but what are the odds? And then they say in this article, at least 24 women packed the courtroom with just 6 men watching on. I don't know. We just looked at the gallery and it looked like there were more men in the gallery than that. But here he is, flanked by perhaps high-ranking New York City detectives. You can tell me, Scott, if you recognize anybody in this picture. How do you plead to this indictment, sir? Guilty or not guilty? Asked Judge Gregory Carro, C-A-R-R-O. Not guilty, Mangione replied. Mangione's lawyer, Karen Friedman Agnifilo, argued before Judge Carro and ADA Joel Seidemann that she was very concerned about her client's right to a fair trial. More still shots. He's being prejudiced by some statements made by government officials, Agnifilo said. He's a young man and he's being treated like a human ping pong ball. Agnifilo, who arrived at 100 Center Street at 8:30 a.m. beside her husband, Mark Agnifilo, then slammed Mayor Adams and the New York NYPD for Mangione's Thursday perp walk, calling Adams' appearance unconstitutional. The mayor should know more than anyone about the presumption of innocence. He was trying to distract from those issues, she said. Mangione, 26, who was hit with federal murder, gun, and stalking charges on Thursday, was also indicted on 11 counts in state court last week, including first-degree murder in furtherance of terrorism, as well as second-degree murder and several illegal gun possession charges. And here he is, smiling in court. Looks pretty happy for a guy that's facing charges federally in New York and in 2 states, Pennsylvania and New York. Wonder if his family was in the courtroom. Doesn't say that here. The suspect fled the 5 boroughs after allegedly shooting Thompson, 50, with a ghost gun outside the Hilton Hotel in Midtown before taking off on a city bike and hopping a bus out of Dodge. And we covered that live while it was going on, while the manhunt was happening shortly after it happened. After a 5-day nationwide manhunt, Mangione was busted in Altoona, Pennsylvania, where he stopped at a local McDonald's after getting off a Greyhound bus that was passing through town. An Ivy League graduate from a wealthy Baltimore family, authorities said Mangione planned the murder months in advance over a gripe with the parasitic health insurance industry. Since then, the accused killer has received sick support from people angered at the healthcare industry. That's their words, not mine. Sick support. That's an interesting photo that I'm sure a lot of people will clip. Mangione is being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, which Mark Betterow has described to us as hell on earth. That is where Diddy is being held. But it has yet to be determined if he will go to trial on state or federal murder charges first. Well, the ADA, Joel Seidemann, just said the feds have deferred to us and they're going to let us try our case first in state court. This was a frightening, well-planned, targeted murder that was intended to cause shock and attention and intimidation, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg said at a press conference announcing the charges against Mangione. He faces a maximum sentence of life in prison without parole if convicted of the state charges. His next court appearance is slated for February 21st. I didn't hear them say that in open court. But apparently, that's going to be the next date. Let's take a look. I want to see if we can find the Eric Adams comments to which Agnifilo was referring, and I think it's right around here. Well, let's watch this perp walk because they talked about this as well as being unprecedented. She'd never seen anything like it. Let's watch this from the beginning. It's only about 10 minutes and we can stop and talk about it as we go. This is from Eyewitness News, and this is from the day that he arrived in New York. Oops.
And he was reacting to some of the answers.
Which was it Thursday? It was Thursday the 19th. So he was arraigned in federal court on Thursday, and then he wasn't arraigned in state court until today, which is odd. We were curious whether he was going to be arraigned in both courts on the same day, and we thought initially that's what they were going to do. They were going to take him from federal court over to state court because we watched or listened to, or we were on the air when he was being indicted in federal court, Mark Betterow and I, on Thursday, and they waited until today to arraign him in state court, and I'm not sure why.
And he was reacting to some of the answers that his attorney was telling him.
This is from
The judge
Thursday.
did come into the courtroom, and at that point, we started the first hearing. That was looking at the charges specifically to
Kimberly, we
Pennsylvania.
just want to interrupt you for a second because we are now seeing the suspect walked out of that helicopter. This is at the Wall Street heliport. He is surrounded by many officers. He is shackled, his hands in front of him. He is in that orange jumpsuit that he was probably given in Pennsylvania. He is looking straight ahead. There is no real expression now looking down as he's moving very slowly. And we understand that the mayor is at the heliport. He will be talking in any moment now about the arrival of the suspect who will be facing federal charges this afternoon. One count, first-degree murder in furtherance of terrorism. That is a count that could bring with it the death penalty, because first-degree murder in New York, which is another charge he will be facing, does not bring the death penalty.
And if you look closely, you can see Mayor Adams is part of this entourage of law enforcement that is surrounding what was the center of a national manhunt just days ago. Was until December 9th that he was tracked down to Pennsylvania after that 5-day manhunt and eventually spotted by somebody who said he looked like the person that they were looking for in the surveillance video. And now we are at this situation, and he is about to be brought to Lower Manhattan. I'll continue to follow the very latest on this. And of course, he'll be fingerprinted and arraigned and then presumably brought to Rikers. Let's go back to.
Nope, he wasn't. He was brought to Manhattan Detention Center, MDC in Brooklyn, which is hell on earth. Let's fast forward this a little bit. And here you're going to see Mayor Eric Adams walking directly behind him. This is wild. You never see this. There you go. It was also brought out that Karen Agnifilo, his attorney, was completely blindsided by the federal charges, that she had no idea there were federal charges coming. She was prepared to go arraign him on Thursday in state court. And instead, they were presented with these federal charges moments before they were to appear in federal court. And her husband went with her, Mark Agnifilo, who is P. Diddy's attorney, to federal court. You need a special admission to be admitted to federal court. And when Mark was on the show the other day, he said that Karen had spent many years in the Manhattan DA's office, and the state court was her home, basically, that she had been there for so long. He didn't know whether she had tried any cases in federal court. I'm admitted to both state and federal court. I'm assuming that she's admitted in federal court, but I think what had happened was when her husband came with her, he's a very experienced federal court lawyer. He may have handled the actual arraignment in federal court. I haven't been able to confirm that, but I think that he did, and that's why he was with her.
You see, finally, after this hour-long
and here's the mayor right here, my friends. Here he is.
break, another judge came in for the second part of the hearing, which did focus on just what is happening now, what we're seeing in New York City, the extradition.
He's in big trouble, the mayor.
That part as well. They went over the order, some housekeeping notes with that extradition. And at that point, they did. It was pretty quick. He was out of there, let out of the courthouse. His demeanor in that courtroom, it was very interesting. He seemed cool as a cucumber. He wasn't nervous. He was looking at us. He almost, I would say, kind of smug, but again, engaged. And then at one point later on in the afternoon, after the hearing wrapped, we actually learned what that hour delay was, because no one knew. We thought these were going to be 8:30 a.m. hearing followed by the 9 a.m. hearing, pretty quick. Apparently, there was some paperwork in the back there was a hiccup with that Mangione didn't want to sign. It stated that he had essentially been treated nicely by police officers at all times. So I guess there was some haggling between prosecutors, his defense attorney. Ultimately, he did sign that first paperwork, hence the extradition. Outside of the courthouse, again, like we've seen in New York City since this horrific crime, a small group of supporters chanting, free him, free him. But again, once he left this courthouse and headed to the airport and then to New York City, things quieted down and again shifted. The main focus now to you guys back in New York City.
Kimberly, we did just see the suspect. Thanks so much for some of that
I mean, here they are
insight
again.
and color about what happened this morning. We did just see the suspect moved into basically.
Oh, did you see that? Did you see that photographer just get smacked down? And here's the assault rifles that his attorney was talking about. She said, I didn't even know they had those in their arsenal. Watch this photographer try and get in there and get smacked down by one of the officers.
Insight and color about what happened this morning. We did just see the suspect moved into basically a prisoner, black prisoner van, which had, you could see there was a big door within the door that locks. He was brought inside that, and that has already left the heliport area. We understand that Mayor Adams, who has been quite vocal about this case and talking about how he wanted to ensure that New York was safe, and this sort of thing was obviously not tolerated. He's at the heliport. He is joined by Jessica Tisch, the police commissioner. We understand that he will be talking. We are hoping to hear from him shortly, and it's so unusual to see a mayor and a police commissioner meeting a suspect who's been extradited from another state here to face charges, now federal charges as well, on a crime committed here in New York City. Here's the mayor. Let's listen.
Here are the comments that she was talking about, his attorney. Why can't we hear them?
Want to send a very clear and loud message that this act of terrorism.
Hold on, let's see if we can get any captions on this.
Want to send a very clear and loud message that this act of terrorism and the violence that stems from it is something that would not be tolerated in the city. We wanted to personally be here to show the symbolism of leading from the front. The apprehension, some of these detectives will finally sleep tonight after this person has been brought to justice here in New York City. We want to thank our partners and the other jurisdictions that played a vital role in this apprehension, particularly the McDonald's employee who saw something and did something, notifying the proper authorities. And I will say this over and over again. The radicalization that is taking place across our country, we cannot ignore. When you see an incident that took place on our streets, when you witness a shooting that took place on a school campus by now a young girl, it is the continuation of our young people are crying out for help. And we have an obligation not only to make apprehensions after an incident of this magnitude, but to do far more to prevent it. We'll open it for a few questions.
Time for a few questions. Dean, go first.
Mr. Mayor, what does this mean for the investigation that he's back in New York?
Mr. Mayor, what does this mean for the investigation that he's back in New York?
Commissioner?
He will be arraigned today on his indictment for the killing of Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, and he'll be arraigned in federal court.
Any other questions? What do you want to say, Mayor, about the supporters of Luigi, wearing Luigi costumes, supporters of Luigi across the country?
Luigi costumes?
The beauty of this country is that you have the right to protest the right. And those who are protesting when someone used violence to solve the problem, we saw that on the school ground as well. It sends the wrong message. A person that uses a gun to solve a concern, if it's on a school campus or on our streets, there are mechanisms in this country on how to organize on those issues of concern. We saw young people who were tired of shootings on school ground. They organized and pushed Congress to do.
I don't understand why he keeps trying to divert this to the school shooting. Okay, Mayor, that didn't happen in New York. I mean, I know that it's important, but can we stick to the subject at hand, which is a basically broad daylight assassination of someone in Midtown Manhattan on the same day of the lighting of the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree?
Weapon bans. That is how we do it here. We don't use a gun. And then
weapon bans? correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the information so far that he made this weapon on his 3D printer at home? So whatever gun bans you're talking about would never have affected this guy and this killing.
Bans. That is how we do it here. We don't use a gun. And anyone that celebrates that, it is vile and it is sending the wrong message. And you're celebrating using violence to solve an issue.
What's his next stop? What's his next stop? Where's he going to be?
What's his next stop? Where's he going to be?
What's his next stop?
His next stop, he's going to be taken to the federal building at 290 Broadway for processing by the FBI and the NYPD.
Great, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
You have been listening to Mayor Adams there, flanked by NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch, talking about the extradition of the suspect, Luigi.
There you go. And there's the perp walk that his attorney was talking about in court. And those are the comments that his attorney was talking about in court that she said were highly, I don't think she said highly inflammatory. Those are my words, but tainting the jury pool, innocent until proven guilty, and highly inappropriate for the mayor to make. And he's facing his own issues right now, this mayor. So this is kind of wild. But again, do you expect, and it's word salad. If you guys would put some word salad emojis in the chat, members, that would be so great. Thanks, Stephanie, for being a member for 2 months and for being glad that you found us. Thank you. And thank you, Cheryl, for thanking me for all that I do and for your super chat from Canada and for being an amazing moderator for this channel. I appreciate you so much. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. We still have one more day and a wake up. Kim, thank you so much. How's my daughter feeling today? Not good. Not good. Tonsillectomy Friday. Teenager, not good. Most painful thing ever. So I'm going to jump off here in a minute and go back to my nursing duties. But thank you very much for asking and for your super chat, Kim. And Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you guys for watching. Donnie Not Wahlberg, we're perplexed regarding the mom's reaction. How do you not worry about your child when there hasn't been contact in months? I said that too, and I got a lot of heat for it, but I feel the same way. I have kids that are older than 26, and I always know where they are, and I'm always in contact with them. I mean, not like 24/7, but if I didn't hear from one of my kids for a day or, a couple of days, I would be worried about it. And it seems like she hadn't heard from him, I think, since July 1st, and she made her missing persons report in San Francisco in something like November. So I was a little perplexed about that too, but I took a lot of heat for that. But thanks, Donnie Not Wahlberg, for making me think that I'm not crazy. Dreamer Thinker, thank you so much for the 5. Important to remember that the worldwide business community is crucial to New York City. They need to project safety. Yep, you're absolutely right. Dreamer Thinker says, thanks again for another super chat. There should be a march on DC about the healthcare system. It's just awful. It is, and if nothing else, if it brings some more attention nationwide to the horrific system of health insurance companies and their AI programs that they use to deny claims. And I've heard from so many of you who have lost family members who were waiting for approval on treatment like bone marrow transplants and chemotherapy treatments. And if nothing else comes out of this, hopefully some things will change in the horrific health insurance industry, which I completely agree with those sentiments. Aletha, thank you so much for the $100 Cash App. Says, I'm the best. Merry Christmas. No, you're the best. Thank you so very much for being so kind and generous to this channel. And Justin Green, also for the Cash App, who says, hope my daughter's feeling better. Yay, ice cream. Yay, ice cream. Chivi says, Sharon says he shot that man in cold blood in the back. I hate the female attorney rubbing his shoulder. Oh, you know what? I wasn't paying attention to that because I was kind of watching the chat. But yeah, not great. Although, we saw that in a couple of trials that we've watched recently where the attorneys try to comfort the client a little bit. So I don't know. GV says mommy issues would suit the need for attention. There's that. Oh, Sarah and Shock and Horror is also an amazing, amazing moderator for this channel. Just gifted 10 memberships. So welcome to the 10 new members who were just randomly gifted by YouTube. A lot of them. A lot of you guys are here. Yeah, cameras. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Thank you, Sarah. You're amazing. You're so amazing. All right, guys. Thoughts, comments, questions, concerns before we wrap here this morning? Be interesting to see where they take him. Oh, you know what we were going to do? We were going to try and see if this is the piece from Fox News this morning in which Mark Bedero appeared. So let me know if this is the one that you guys were watching. Let's go here. Come on, man.
Want to get to another top story that we have been following, and that is Luigi Mangione and the case against the man who is accused of murdering the CEO of United Healthcare. As we get to a little bit more here, we do know that he is expected to go before a judge today. He's scheduled to appear in a Manhattan courtroom on state charges in the fatal shooting of CEO Brian Thompson. The 26-year-old flown Thursday of last week from Pennsylvania, where he was arrested, over to New York, where the crime happened. You can see the video right there of his arrival. He was set to be arraigned once he did arrive, but that court date was postponed to today after federal charges of murder and stalking were filed against him. Mangione was arrested at a McDonald's over in Altoona, Pennsylvania, days after Thompson's murder, after an employee of the fast food restaurant apparently recognized him from photos and videos that were circulated.
Wasn't it a customer who recognized him?
NYPD.
Wasn't it a customer who recognized him and then let me just see if I can find Mark on. Oh, there's Mark. Okay. Wasn't it a customer who recognized him and then told the employee to call? And now aren't they fighting giving these people the reward? I don't know. I haven't followed that story so much because there's so many other things that have been going on that we've been covering. So
sure. How are you? Nice to see you.
oh, look at this.
Good,
Look at
good.
this.
Good to see him break this all down. We
Hold
appreciate
on. Here's our boy, Mark Bedero, this morning on Fox Live. They're calling him all the time now. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get him on here again. Can't believe he didn't even tell me to turn on the news this morning. Usually he'll text me ahead of time and say, you may see someone you know, turn on Fox. But here we go. Let's just rewind a little teeny weeny bit.
And a former Manhattan prosecutor. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Criminal defense lawyer in. A lot to discuss here about that arraignment today, so let's bring in Mark Bedero. He is a criminal defense lawyer in Manhattan and a former Manhattan prosecutor. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us and break this all down. We appreciate it.
Sure. How are you? Nice to see you.
Good, good. Good to see you as well. First off, I do want to talk about the arraignment overall. Again, this is an arraignment on state charges. How exactly does the arraignment process work? What should we expect, if anything, from today?
What, if anything?
I wouldn't expect much from today. An arraignment is simply the court asserting personal jurisdiction over the defendant, notifying him formally of the charges that have been filed against him, some other basic housekeeping matters, making sure that there is counsel for the defendant, addressing any issues related to bail and whatnot. But in this particular case, he'll be brought in. There'll be a lot of media there, but he'll plead not guilty. He's certainly not going to be released because of the nature of the charges, his fleeing the federal case and whatnot. He's already represented. The only thing that I think would be interesting excuse me, legally in terms of today is whether his attorney formally serves notice of intent to use a psychiatric defense, which they'll have 30 days from today to do if they want to do that in the New York case.
As far as bond, you kind of said he's not going to be let go at this point. Do you think that at any point in this case, we could actually see a bond set for Mangione? Again, we're talking about a very high-profile murder here.
No chance. It's a high-profile murder. It's an execution in the streets of Midtown Manhattan during the tree lighting ceremony day later that day.
I said that.
He concealed his appearance. He fled the jurisdiction. He used a fake ID. He's facing in New York for the time being, a mandatory life sentence if convicted of the top charge. He's potentially facing the death penalty in federal court. This guy checks every single box in terms of being detained without bond or bail in both cases. The only chance that he's ever going to see the light of day again is if he somehow gets acquitted on both of these cases.
One thing that was interesting to a lot of people, we have the video that shows his arrival there in New York after he was extradited from over in Pennsylvania. And what's
He's like, I need more coffee. I can't even wait until we're done here. I need more coffee right now. I don't know what time this went on, but to say the time on here, I'm not sure.
what's interesting is you had New York City Mayor Eric Adams.
Yeah, it was 7:02 a.m. Eastern.
You had Jessica Tisch, the NYPD commissioner. All of them were there as he was brought in. What does that say to you? Is the whole purpose of that just because this is such a high-profile murder and you have people all over the country paying such close attention to it?
Look, let's call it what it is. The idea that the mayor of the city of New York and the police commissioner of the city of New York were there to participate in what's called a perp walk, and which looked more like a conga line parading Mangione around, was absolutely ridiculous. That's a photo op. There's no need for that. It serves no purpose. The mayor's explanation that I wanted to look him in the eye for what he did to my city, that's absurd. This guy still is going to get due process. The case against him is very strong. But the idea that the mayor and the police commissioner are participating in a perp walk serves no purpose. And let's be honest about something else. It completely backfired. I mean, they have elevated Mangione, who already is deemed by some to be some kind of cult hero, or his war on the health insurance industry, as misguided as that may be. All they have done is make him more of a folk hero. And that was nothing more than a photo op spectacle. And I have no idea why the mayor and police commissioner would do that for any other reason than just to be part of a photo op.
And that was that video right there on your screen that we were just looking at. You wrote in the New York Times in a guest essay that this looks to be a, quote, pretty straightforward case of second-degree murder. Why is it so straightforward in your opinion?
Well, second-degree murder in New York, which is most murder cases, is one of the most common theories, is just intending to kill someone and doing that. And what is the evidence against this guy? He shows up in New York, although he tried to conceal his appearance. He didn't do a very good job. There's many still photos and videos of him walking around New York. Anyone who comes to New York would know that you're always on camera, certainly in Midtown Manhattan. So he's easily identified. He's apprehended in Pennsylvania with apparently the gun or the same type that was used. He's apprehended with a manifesto in which he's ranting and raving against the healthcare system, and it appears to mention United Healthcare. We're told that there is fingerprint and DNA evidence right around the crime scene from the Starbucks that he was at shortly before the crime, the use of the fake ID. So in terms of just the elements of the crime and proving it's him, it appears to be as close to open and shut a case as you would have. Now, that doesn't involve potential issues with, again, the sympathy that he's receiving from certain quarters. But just in terms of, is this the guy who did it? The case is pretty strong.
I do have to ask, because you touched on this a little bit, but you're talking about second-degree murder. Can you break down how that differs from first-degree murder and the charge that he does face, which is murder as an act of terrorism?
Yeah, listen up on this, because a lot of people were confused about this. New York, well, he's going to explain it to you probably more eloquently than I can, but in New York, there is a special circumstances that rise to the level of first-degree murder. So first-degree murder in New York is different. Second-degree murder in New York is what you see as first-degree murder in most other states. He'll probably explain it to you better than I can, because I can't find the words, but he explained it on the other.
Well, yeah, in New York, first-degree murder requires special circumstances. Most other states, a traditional killing, if that's the right term, would constitute first-degree murder. But in New York, it's restricted to certain circumstances, such as the murder of a police officer during the course of his or her official duties, an intentional killing during the course of a violent crime. If there is more than one murder victim, if it's a contract killing, if it is a torture killing, things of that, if it's a witness. So these are all very special circumstances. One of those special circumstances is for an act of terror, which includes a theory of committing an intentional killing for the purpose of intimidating a certain segment of the civilian population. And that's what the Manhattan DA has attempted to do here, both in first and second degree, by adding the terror enhancement, which would result, if a conviction was had, in a mandatory life sentence without parole. But by doing that, what the Manhattan District Attorney has done is added an incredible burden to their case. A straightforward murder case does not require motive. It just simply would have to show that Mangione intended to kill Brian Thompson and did, which, as we said, seems pretty straightforward. But now the Manhattan DA, by choice, has added the additional burden of getting into his mind and establishing his motive why, which is essentially throwing the defense a bone, as well as his public sympathizers, because they have now made this idea that he might have done this to rage against the healthcare system front and center in the trial, which
Rage against the machine, rage against the machine.
What I was writing about in the New York Times was that's just not necessary. If it's going to be a state case, murder 2 is very straightforward. He would get 25 to life. It is true that a murder 1 or a murder 2 with a terror enhancement would take away the possibility of parole, but giving the defense the right to offer, to challenge, if you will, and add as part of the prosecution's case this idea that this was some kind of act of terror just strikes me as an own goal, just a complete mistake.
Why add the federal charges? Is that simply to add in the possibility of the death penalty, or is there more to that? Because a lot of folks were kind of confused about the federal charge aspect of that overall. Can you help kind of explain?
I've never seen this guy, Josh Breslow, before, but he's asking really great questions. He's at Josh Breslow TV. He's asking some really great questions.
Explain it.
Well, it's not common to see concurrent federal and state prosecutions for essentially the same acts. I mean, it does happen, but it's not something that you would see every day. Certainly, the federal case does include the possibility for the death penalty. That is true. I think the likelihood that the United States Department of Justice would actually seek the death penalty in this case, if pushed to the proof and if a trial was had, I think is very unlikely. It is one killing and it's just not a common thing. Most likely, the possibility of the death penalty certainly is always a potential game changer in leverage in terms of trying to negotiate, some would say coerce a plea when that's hanging over your head. But the federal statutes that are in play here are much simpler, much cleaner than the state case. I mean, all the feds have to do is establish that he came to New York with the intent and did in fact kill Mr. Thompson by using a firearm. That doesn't involve allegations of terrorism. It doesn't get into all of this political stuff about raging against the healthcare system. So it seems to me the federal case is a much cleaner one. The jury pool would be much more favorable for the prosecution because unlike the state case, which would consist entirely of a jury pool in Manhattan, which, as you know, is one of the most progressive liberal environments in the United States and which may play into this idea of Mangione as a political activist hero. The federal jury pool, if it went that far, would consist also of Westchester, Putnam, Orange, Rockland counties, which are a little north of New York City and tend to be much more conservative than Manhattan. The procedural rules may be more favorable to the prosecution in federal court. So, you know, it does make sense to me that this would be a federal case rather than a state case. And I would assume as time goes on that the feds may very well try to push the DA out and take it entirely because, as you know, come January.
But we did not see that happen. We saw the ADA in state court say feds are letting us go first. Very interesting.
The Justice Department is going to have a new person in charge who is not a fan of the Manhattan DA for all the obvious reasons.
All right, Mark Betterow, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and
Wow,
help
they
break
give him-
down the case a little bit further. We appreciate it as always. Thank you again and have a Merry Christmas.
Thanks, you too. Have a nice day.
Or a happy Hanukkah, as the case may be. Well, he almost got as much FaceTime as he gets on my show. No, I let him talk a lot longer than that. But usually when we see him on the air, it's only for like 10 or 20 seconds at a time. So that was a great amount of time that they gave him on there. So congratulations to Live Now Fox. Maybe they'll make me to cut that out too. You never know. You never know until you get that red or yellow dollar sign, what you got to cut out on YouTube. Mama She, thank you so much for the $50 cash app. So very generous for Christmas, and Merry Christmas to you as well. And you're always such an amazing, classy, generous addition to this channel. And I thank you so very much. Start a couple of comments here that I saw go by that I thought were very interesting. Chamber Thinker, I think we addressed this, did we? Important to remember the worldwide business community is crucial to New York City. They need to protect safety. We did. Thank you so very much. And then Sarah. Team Brittany, yeah, the lover you know says, Team Brittany, I hear you on that one. Hating someone you've never met says more about you than the person you hate on. This is so interesting because I was thinking about this last night. Last night or yesterday, we covered the Blake Lively filing a civil rights complaint against Justin Baldoni for the movie It Ends With Us and the sexual harassment that she alleges that she suffered on the set of that movie, as well as retaliation and some other things. And so many people in the comments were hating on Blake Lively. And I'm like, why do you have such a personal hatred towards this woman? Have you met her? It's bizarre to me. I agree. It's like we can talk about the issues and the legal issues and the people, but people have such a deep-seated hatred for people they've never met, including Karen Reed, which if you're on the cesspool of Twitter, you see every single day. And then LB13 says, Melanie, are you going to be one-sided on this case like the Peeler case? I don't know who what the Peeler case is, so I'm not really quite sure what you're talking about. I'm a constitutionalist and a proceduralist first and foremost, so I will wait and hear all the evidence. I'd like to hear what he's got to say about his insanity defense, if that's the case. They didn't bring that up in court today. They have 30 days to file whether or not they're going to pursue an insanity defense. And they also did not address bail today at all. So that's interesting. And Chivi says, I forgot how healthy this community is. Thank you. And Billy, me too. I'm on the side of innocent until proven guilty. Always. Always. I think there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed. I'm still trying to figure out what the Peeler case is. So I don't really know. But I'm not one-sided. I don't find myself to be one-sided. I find myself to be not neutral. And my opinions and my siding, if that's what you want to call it, is not biased. It's based on my review of all of the evidence, the trial testimony, and it's an educated opinion. And I give you my opinion because I'm not a neutral channel. I'm not a cupcake. It says that over there on that pink side. It says, you can't make everyone happy. You're not a cupcake. I've had that since I became a mother of 2. Now I'm a mother of 5. It's my daily mantra. Can't make everyone happy. I'm not a cupcake. But I'm also not going to sit here and, just be neutral and just, play things and not comment on them because I am opinionated and people are here for my legal commentary. Oh, the Penny case. Oh, the Penny case. Oh, maybe that's what it was, the Penny case? Well, the Penny case was based on a lot of things. Autopsy reports, trial testimony, the fact that the cause of death was at issue. So that was based on my personal research of that entire case. And I did think that Daniel Penny should not have been convicted, and he was acquitted. So we got to see justice served, in my opinion, in that case. And by the way, for those of you who don't live in New York, you might not know that yesterday a woman was set on fire in the subway and burned to death by a person who allegedly is, let me see if I can find that for you, because that's horrific. He lit this woman on fire and watched her burn and then sat on a bench. And then he left, and then he was caught a little while later. And now it is so buried in the feed here that it's going to be hard for me to find. But, that's the thing. New York, it can be a dangerous place. The subways can be a dangerous place. And if people aren't going to step in because of people like Daniel Penny being prosecuted, that's a big problem, in my opinion. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a subway rider. So why can't I find the story now? Why is it gone? Hold on a second. I'm going to pull it up for you because some of you might not know about it. And it's already buried with everything else that's going on today. So let's just hang on a second. This happened yesterday. So yeah, did I think Daniel Penny should be acquitted? Yeah, because if my kids were on that subway, I would have wanted Daniel Penny on that subway car as well. All right, go away. Stupid. Guatemalan migrant arrested for setting sleeping New York City subway rider on fire and watching her burn to death. This happened yesterday. And I'm reading from you. These are not my words. These are the words of the New York Post. A Guatemalan migrant has been arrested for allegedly lighting a sleeping subway rider on fire in Brooklyn on Sunday morning, then watching as his innocent victim burned to death in what the police commissioner called one of the most depraved crimes one person could possibly commit. The savage killing, which happened at about 7:30 a.m. on an idling F train at the Coney Island Stillwell Avenue station, shocked commuters, MTA workers, and NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch, who said Sunday that the heinous crime took the life of an innocent New Yorker. Okay, what is odd about this is it was also an F train that Daniel Penny was on when Jordan Neely came on threatening to kill people and not caring if he went to Rikers, and people were fearing for their lives. Here's the perp as they caught him. He was arrested. Let's see how long it took for them to arrest him. I'm not even going to show you video. If you're interested, you can see video of, I believe, the burning. I didn't look at it. I didn't want to click on it. As the train pulled into the station, the suspect calmly walked up to the victim, who was in a seated position at the end of a subway car, and used what we believe to be a lighter to ignite the victim's clothing, which became fully engulfed in a matter of seconds, Tisch said at a press conference. Patrolling cops smelled and saw the smoke, then followed it to the flame-covered woman, the commissioner said. They extinguished the blaze, but the victim died at the scene. This was 7:30 in the morning. Officials said the 33-year-old suspect came to the U.S. in 2018 from Guatemala. He was detained by Border Patrol agents in Arizona in June of that year, sources said. His legal status wasn't immediately clear on Sunday night. He received a transit summons in May of 2023, but his criminal record in New York City was largely clean otherwise. He was living at a shelter on Randall's Island at the time of the infraction. Horrifying video obtained by the Post showed the suspect calmly looking on as flames consumed the still unidentified woman who stood inside the open subway car door. A transit cop walked by and seemed to pull out a radio and say something as they continued down the platform. After the cop passed, the suspect got up as if to walk away, then the clip cut off. In another video, cops yelled to the gathered crowd, "Did anybody see anything? Did anybody see anything?" As smoke poured from inside the subway car. The suspect brazenly sat on a nearby bench as cops huddled around, pulling his hood up at one point, just before an officer spoke to him. So he sat there and watched this aftermath. "Do me a favor, walk down there," the cop said, motioning down the platform with his radio. "I need this space cleared up." The man stood up and then left the scene. Unbeknownst to the officers who responded, the suspect had stayed on the scene and was seated on a bench of the platform, on the platform just outside the train car, Tisch said. The body-worn cameras on the responding officers produced a very clear, detailed look at the killer. Later in the day, 3 high schoolers called police to say they saw the man pictured in images released by the NYPD at the J and York Street station on the F line, according to Tisch and the NYPD's chief of transit, Joseph Galata. So it took 3 high schoolers to call in to say they saw the guy. When transit officers responded to the call, they found the suspect already on another train leaving the station and wearing the same gray hoodie, wool hat, and paint-splattered pants he'd been wearing when he allegedly torched the woman. Cops called ahead and halted the train at Herald Square, and then they went from car to car until they found the suspect and arrested him. Tisch said the suspect had a lighter in his pocket when he was picked up. "I want to thank the young people who called 911 to help," Tisch said. "They saw something, they said something, and they did something." And so there's that story. So when you say that I'm one-sided on the Daniel Penny case, this is what we deal with in New York every single day. And this story has already been buried because of so many other things that happened since then. So take that for what it's worth. Take that for what it's worth. Call me one-sided if you want. GB forgot how healthy this community is. Thank you so much for your super chat, and Anne-Marie, DeAndrea, thank you so much for tuning in from Canada and for your super sticker. And to every single one of you, thank you for being here with me today. I'm going to wrap unless you have any further comments, questions, concerns, because it is a very, very busy time around here. And I still have to finish decorating my Christmas tree, which I haven't done. And of course, you know, go buy the meat for Christmas Day. So send your prayers to me while I try and brave Costco. I don't know. Should I do it? Should I not do it? I don't know. Thanks to the best mods. Thank you guys so much for being here and for sharing this breaking news with me. And to each and every one of you, please do the things that YouTube likes. Thank you, moderators, for keeping it classy. Thank you, members, channel members, replay viewers, all of you. Just please do the things YouTube likes. Smash the like button on your way out. Share the stream if you can, because the stream I did yesterday on Blake Lively was shadow banned initially. I don't know why. They didn't like the topic, I guess. And also, and all things Mangione are immediately shadow banned. So if you would be so kind, you can share the stream out. You can do all of the things. Hit the like button. Help the algo. Help a girl out for Christmas. And I'm sure I will see you before Christmas. But until then, my friends, stay cool, stay kind, stay classy. It's really so not hard. You guys know how to do it. I know you do.